Moving ahead this morning, we are spending a few minutes with Meg Gorman. Meg is running for Congress right here in the 3rd District. Meg, good to see you and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
What would be your legislative priorities, the top 3, if you win the election?
There are so many to work on. The first one is going to be democracy, protecting voting rights, making sure that people have a voice and they can use that voice and they're not having to fight these obstacles.
Right.
Without that, nothing else really matters. And then 2 and 3, I'm going to go with healthcare. Healthcare is huge. We see people still being bankrupted by medical bills all the time. People are having to take half doses of insulin. People are having to forego medical treatment simply because they can't afford them. And education. There's this idea that the federal government has nothing to do with public education or funding it. And that's simply not true.
Right.
That's an investment. That's something we can do across the board to make sure that we are doing our part as a country to support our public schools and our public education systems.
I think if you randomly selected 10 people from the street and said, what do you perceive as one of the biggest problems? Crime and violent crime at that would be at the top of a number of those who responded. How do you think we could best deal with violent crime right here in the 3rd District? I'm not talking about Washington, Chicago, Atlanta, or whatever. I'm talking right here.
Well, to your point, a lot of the reasons why we see violent crime are actually the same. What we do know is that in states that have expanded Medicaid, and this is at a state level, but those states that have expanded Medicaid have lower violent crime rates and property crime rates.
Right.
There's a direct correlation between the expansion of Medicaid and those rates dropping. So a lot of these people who are incarcerated, who have committed violent crimes or property crimes, are struggling with behavioral health, mental health,
sure,
or struggling with addiction. And when we expand Medicaid at the state level, obviously that would be at a state level, or on a federal level, if we do something like Medicare for All, which I support, we can make sure that people have access to those health services that they may otherwise not be able to access.
Without having to jump through a bunch of governmental red tape.
Of course, and the cost. And the cost. You know, there are people in my family who have needed that kind of support. I've been there with friends, with loved ones who have needed that support, helping them navigate the system, trying to find coverage, even for people who do have insurance or who do have support, who do have some of the support from these government programs. It's still not enough finding providers who can do this. So I think really expanding all the way out, we will see that crime rates, violent crime rates, drop as we are addressing the root causes.
It seems like so many of the folks who are incarcerated, as you were mentioning earlier, a lot of those reasons are tied together for violent crime. It's just like a downward spiral, and once you're in that part of the system, kind of hard to get out.
Yeah, it is. I think in many ways we treat prisons like a closet, and we're cleaning frantically before someone
Right.
shows up. You know, on short notice.
Sure.
And we just look to move those people to the side, get them out of the way, and not deal with them, which is not how we should be treating human beings.
Right.
We should be helping.
We only have another few seconds left, 30 seconds or so, and I got a 2-part question. Number 1, what made you decide to run for office? And number 2, how would you spend your first 90 days in the chair?
Well, what made me decide to run is, frankly, I've grown up here. This is my home.
Right.
I've seen a lack of leadership and responsiveness. I work in a public-facing job. I have my whole adult life, and I know that leadership means a willingness to listen to people, even those you don't agree with.
First 90 days in office, what would be the first thing you tackle?
A lot of it is just coalition building. It's meeting with people, including the people who may not be from the same party, talking with them, understanding what drives them, what their districts need as well, and being able to kind of form a plan around that so it's coming together instead of dividing.
Meg, very good. We wish you luck. We're out of time, but we do look forward to talking with you in the coming weeks. Find out more about Meg Gorman for Congress. You can find her on Facebook and the website, meg2022.com. That's meg2022.com. Chattanooga.com. Still ahead, Warren and Griffin talking about the big Solid Orange drive-through, the Chattanooga Symphony and Opera Association, and a visit with our friends from Pinnacle Home Improvement. We're back with more on Let's Chat after this.